Hey traders, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to look at how I day trade the US Canadian dollar. So in yesterday's video, I did some kind of long-term swing setups with you guys live. And then today's video, I'm going to show you how I would day trade that pair. So it's a little bit different. If you haven't subscribed already, please do that. And yeah, without further ado, we'll get right into the actual setups. Okay guys, so we're going to get right into the video. Now, one thing I will tell you is that my strategy, obviously for day trading, is a little bit different than when I swing trade. So what we looked at like in yesterday's example, for instance, because obviously I'm not looking at, the longer trend. I'm looking at what's more pertinent to today and what's happening, in kind of the more recent price action. So to get into how I do this, the first thing I'm going to tell you, so we're looking at the US Canadian dollar today, and it's going to be on the 4-hour chart. Okay. So we're only focusing on the US Canadian dollar. And the reason being, it's such a good pair to day trade zone to zone. Like it respects zones so well. And you'll see that, what I mean by that in the rest of this video. So this EMA I have plotted here is the 50 EMA. So for those of you who don't know how to find it, I'll just quickly go in and show you. You just search up literally moving average exponential and it'll show up. You plot it and then you can change your EMA by going to the settings and you can put in whichever length you want to use there, okay? So that's how you do that. So I do have the 50 EMA in there, like I mentioned. When price is below this EMA on the 4-hour chart, I'm generally looking for sells, okay? Remember, this is when I'm day trading as well. So when I'm kind of in and out of the market in a few hours. When it breaks above, I'm looking for buys, okay? So just really quick there. Now, I never trade based on an indicator. I've said that probably a million times and I'll say it again. The indicator is just roughly how I'm confirming my trend. All right. I don't work with trend lines. I like using zones as my structure. Next thing I'm going to do is draw in zones, and the zones that I want to draw in. So I'll usually draw 3. Okay. So 3 zones. And the zones I draw in, I want one above price, one below price, and one as close to price as I can get it. So those are the 3 zones that I'm usually looking at. Now you can draw in more, like if you want to kind of extend where you want your target to go or your stop loss to go, that's fine. But I just like to use 3, okay? Now getting into examples, I'll use like a previous example, like from some previous price action here. And then we'll use a more relevant example using current price action. So we'll do a little bit of both today. And then another thing I wanted to mention is that I always check news before entering a USDCAD trade because there's so much news that comes along with the pair. So both the US and Canadian dollar do have a lot of fundamental kind of action, I guess we'll say. Fundamentals play a big role in the volatility of both pairs. So I like to use FX Street. You can use whichever news site that you want to use, but I like fxstreet.com. So that's what I use. And I'll just check and see if I have any news coming up because I won't enter a trade if there's major news coming up before my entry. So that's the only thing there. I'm not entering trades based on news ever. Okay. Next thing I'm going to look at is actually plotting my zones. So I have a full video on that. I'm going to link below if you want to watch me do that and see how I do that. But here I do have them already drawn in. We have a clear support here. Okay. That price later has broken through. We can see that's happening here. And then we have a nice support area here that later became resistance, where I'm circling there, resistance here again. This would be our closest zone to current price that we talked about. This would be our obviously above current price. And then this guy down here is another area that was respected as support. and has not yet been really respected as resistance. If we go back, we can probably see that happening though. So these are the 3 zones that I want to work with because they're the most significant to me. Okay. So these are the 3 that I'm looking at. Let's look at like a previous example though. So remember when I'm below this 50 EMA, I'm looking for cells. So I'm looking for, so here, and this is a good example here, I'm going to go back to my pen. So right here, we have a break below the 50 EMA. Okay, so I'm going to start looking for my cells. We have a break of this zone as well, and then a retest, right? So it breaks down through that zone, almost touches this next zone, comes back up to retest here. We also see a nice long rejection wick. All right. And we can then wait for confirmation. So a nice confirmation candle and enter a sell. And where would we ride? Well, we can ride to this next zone here, and we can even come down to this next zone here, depending on what your risk reward is. So really, really easy, right? It's a pretty easy strategy. Let's look at a more kind of relevant example. So we'll go to price action right now. That's why I chose these examples actually, because we can now look at what price is currently doing, and you might be able to get a setup here depending on what your style of trading is. So now price has broken above the 50 EMA. Okay, so although when looking for long-term trades, I truly would still be looking for sells. If we were to go to the daily time from now or the weekly and plot our 200 EMA, price is going to be below it still, okay? But because price has broken above it on the 4-hour time frame and we're just looking for intraday or day trades, we're going to start looking for buys here. Okay, we've got that nice bit of momentum. We've broken that 50 EMA. Okay, it broke through 2 really significant zones here, which is something that's of interest to me, that we just kind of broke right on through those here. And now we're retesting this zone. Okay, so we're retesting a current zone right now. Not seeing enough rejection here yet for me to enter a trade. Price still seems to be kind of figuring out what it wants to do there. It's not a great time of day to be entering a trade either. Keep in mind, I'm doing this video late in the day. So we'll have to see how this plays out. But this is a really interesting setup. So you could possibly get an entry here. And what I would do is actually ride up to this zone here that price has formed. Okay, I would actually come up to this area to give myself a nice risk reward. Okay, I'm going to delete that though, just so we don't have too much going on the chart. So we're starting to see rejection in 27 minutes. This candle will close. That'll give me a more clear idea. And then on the 15-minute, if you want to go to the 15-minute chart, this is where I would look for entry. So I'd start looking for some nice long-bodied candles coming away from this zone. I'd want to see way more momentum than we're currently seeing. So I'd want to see something like this. Not that long, but a nice long-bodied candle like that. And then I'll go back to the 4 hours. I'm switching back to the 4-hour chart. So we are starting to see rejection form even now as we're watching this live. This is kind of bouncing right off there. If you wanted more confirmation, you can certainly plot the MACD like I did yesterday. So go into our indicators and plot the MACD and see what our momentum is looking like. And it is still looking nice and strong. Although we are starting to get those light green candles, these lines are starting to cross over a little bit. That's fine. You can go down to the 15-minute as well once we start getting rejection and a push upward and see what our momentum is looking like. However, another super easy way to confirm, if you don't like the MACD and you're not really too keen on that indicator, I know a lot of people are not, that's totally fine. What we could do is take our fib retracement, go from the previous swing low to the previous swing high. You could, guys, include this wick here if you wanted to, or you could come all the way down to this zone. That's totally up to you. I would actually consider the previous swing low right here, and I'm not going to include that news wick. That's just me. And then either way, you're going to hit off of this 61 fib level, which is a great retracement area. Or even if you did include, so if you like to plot your fib using, if you did want to drag it all the way down here and you didn't kind of include this retracement like I did, it's still going to hit the 50, which is still significant. Fibs are another thing that are just, you know, kind of to each their own. Whatever way you want to place it is fine by me. I've kind of learned in the YouTube world that we all do things differently, and if I don't give little disclaimers here and there, people will come for me. So do it whatever way you want to do it. I'm just showing you how I do it, okay? But yeah, so you can definitely use your Fibonacci. That's giving you another confirmation. So this looks like a great day trade. If we get some more momentum and wait for this candle to close, I can see this being a great entry, and we could possibly ride it up here, just depending on how the market moves, keeping in mind that it is a little later in the day today as well, okay? And that's it, you guys. I think I'm rambling again, so I'm going to stop there. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to post tomorrow. I don't really know. It might be a funding talent video, actually, because we're coming up with a more aggressive model. For those of you who don't know, if you are a retail trader and you need capital, we fund traders with up to $100,000 in capital with no challenge. So I do own a prop firm. For those of you who don't know me, you can definitely go check that out if you want to. I'm going to link my website in the description like I usually do. I have lots of videos on that. And I will see you guys in tomorrow's video.